Everybody, it's Angela, and I'm going to give you an update on what's been going on with the taco team. So I'm sure you're all aware that we've been in a hiring freeze, and it has had a pretty substantial impact on our normal regular activities, as I'm sure COVID has impacted your activities as well. So just to give you a little bit of a contrast on what last year looked like at this time versus this year, we have seen a 42% decrease in our hiring activity. Last year, we had about 557 postings at this point. This year, we've had 328. We also have seen about a 50% decrease in job description actions, which are typically directly tied to postings as well as promotions, which have also been placed on hold unless they are able to be justified in some way. We've also seen a decrease in personnel actions as we're not doing pay increases right now. And so that's had a pretty big impact on our personnel actions with a decrease of about 20%. Some of this time has been filled by over 400 exception requests that we have received and reviewed with departments and made determinations about how to proceed. Right now, just to give you an idea, we're working on 74 postings, 15 exception requests, and over the course of this last month, we've seen 41 job descriptions come through. And so we're seeing a bit of an uptick in our activity with relation to postings and job descriptions. So in terms of what we've been filling our time with, it's been a lot of projects, anything from postdocs to CRPs and everything in between. So one thing that we're doing to prepare for Oracle, and really it's time to do this too, because it's been a little while since we implemented our job and pay structure. We're looking at all of our career profiles, 675 of them or so, and making sure that they're accurate and up to date, but that they're also concise and clear as we move into a new system. We're also working right now with Marie on developing a competency model, which we are going to align to our job classifications. And our expectation is that we're going to use those for hiring, professional development, performance management, and eventually for succession planning. We're working with our immigration attorneys as well, looking at our business process there, trying to figure out what are the right things for Rice to do and what are the things that our immigration attorneys and their teams can help us with. And so really working on restructuring the way that we work on visas and permanent residency actions. We've also been serving in support of CMT from everything from helping with volunteering at test site locations to developing better ways of tracking test data and getting that out to departments so that they can make sure their staff are getting tested appropriately, to identifying and getting volunteers in positions with the CMT. We've also had to transition quite a bit to a virtual format. One big change is our new employee orientation went completely virtual in April. That's really worked well. We've actually seen an increase in attendance. So it was 90% in person. It's gone up to 97% virtual. And this year we look forward to continuing to explore ways that we can welcome our staff with our new employee orientation. We've also delivered virtual trainings for people admin, otherwise known as RiceWorks, PAFs, job descriptions. We're going to have our very first virtual hiring training this Thursday, and we're going to have a postdoc job description training that we're rolling out in November as well. We're also looking at updating a lot of our policies and practices related to employment and pay. One, they were outdated and it was time, but also we're preparing for our move to Oracle and want to make sure that our policies and practices are reflective of the way we're going to be doing business moving forward. We've also been involved in a lot of configuring, testing, process mapping, and preparing for Oracle, and beginning on charting some new paths with student employment coming to HR in July. So some things that are up next for us, with the president's email, he indicated the financial outlook for the university, the upcoming 3% budget cuts what we're going to expect moving forward is that there's going to be a change in our hiring freeze practices. Right now, I would characterize it as a light frost. We're actually going to be seeing a freeze. So fewer of those requests are going to be approved. But instead, what we're going to do is really partner with our HRBPs to work with the hiring managers, with department administrators in assessing their workforce, identifying opportunities to shift work, and ways that those essential needs can be covered in this time of a hiring freeze. And so also getting them to think beyond their individual departments and seeing about what other resources are available within their division or at the university for getting those functions done. We've also have a lot to do to continue to prepare for Oracle. So one thing our team has been doing is meeting weekly to go through Oracle. Someone is driving us through our business processes. We're identifying key change elements and determining plans for creating resources, communications, training, to help facilitate a successful implementation. We're also working to redefine the business administrator career path. These jobs, business administrators, are really key to getting the business of the university done, particularly HR, finance, and business related business. So these jobs are going to be directly impacted by business process changes in Oracle. Individuals are going to have more access and responsibility than they ever had before. And it's going to be really important that we get the right people in the system with the right access and training. We're also working on developing a team that we're going to work with to roll these changes out, to identify what the right structure looks like. And so there's going to be a lot of work coming up on that soon. And that's about all we've got for now, but we look forward to seeing what the next few months hold and can't wait to hear from the rest of you.
Hello, Human Resources. The HRIS team is glad to be able to Zoom with you all today and give you a glimpse into who we are and what we do. Right now, you might be thinking, what does the acronym HRIS stand for? That would be Human Resources Information Systems. Pretty snappy, isn't it? And where did the team come from? Well, we were formed around 2019-ish in anticipation of the campus project to transform business processes and bring on a new administrative computing system. Do we all really exist? We think so, but with the arrival of COVID, we have been working from home all the time. So in case you don't remember us, or if you're relatively new to RICE, allow me to introduce the team. Meet the HRIS team members. Here's yours truly, Wayne. There's Yesenia. Also Rebecca. And of course, Vlad. And yes, we are indeed a rare combination of beauty and brains. But I digress. What are the responsibilities of the HRIS team? There are basically two. We have overall responsibility for the care and feeding of HR person data, keeping it clean and tidy, controlling who gets access to it, managing the regular purging of outdated information for compliance purposes. But for the time being, HRIS is responsible for providing the HCM staffing of Imagine1. That's the campus-wide project for modernizing RICE's overall business processes and implementing the system to support the new processes. In case you haven't heard, we're on schedule to go live on July 1st, 2021. And every time I say that, it sounds a little more scary. Another way to think of our work is to distinguish between our two main responsibilities. On an ongoing basis, HRIS manages HR data from top to bottom, with emphasis on data integrity in our HR systems like Banner, People Admin, Guardian, HireRight, etc. Then we're also charged with getting the HCM parts of Imagine1 up and running. And if I didn't mention it before, HCM stands for Human Capital Management, formerly known as HR, formerly known as Personnel. What does that mean? Implementing Imagine One. It means, in addition to keeping a grip on HR data stewardship, mostly in the background these days, we spend most of our time tending to Imagine One implementation tasks. There are three big tasks: planning and designing the new business processes and capturing all that in business process mapping documents. That's what a BPM is, a business process map. Next, we capture each and every technical step into a configuration workbook, which is kind of like a cookbook, really, and then actually go into Oracle HCM Cloud's backend and key in all the details. That's what configuration is all about. Finally, we test everything to make sure it works as planned. Sometimes things are broken and we have to go back to steps 1 and 2 to fix stuff. Sounds like a lot of work, right? Well, it is. And here's a very quick look at some of that. Try not to blink or you'll miss something. Here's a BPM about rehiring an employee. You can easily see there are lots of steps that are connected into a sequence. Each map also divides who does what into different sections called swim lanes. This particular map has only 2 swim lanes. This one shows what a department administrator would do in the process, and this one shows what HR or the VPAA office would do. Now we'll quickly run through some more maps. This one shows how one-time payments are done. Here's one showing how our benefits team sets up open enrollment. Sometimes the maps are simple, sometimes they're not. When we get to configuring, we log into Oracle and start keying in our setup details. Here's a configuration page for a recruiting template. And here's a different one for changing a person's assignment. That's Oracle speak for somebody's job. Finally, we do our testing in Jira. Some of us aren't terribly fond of Jira. I guess it's better than a root canal, but maybe it's not. So that's all we do for Imagine One? Not really. There are peripheral issues that constantly come up on the project, such as unforeseen problems with design or missing system functionality, like Banner data doesn't want to convert to Oracle data, or HR has a brand new function that we need to figure out, or we need to work with other RISE system owners to figure out how we can all play nicely in the sandbox together. We form working groups to get everything together and hash out the best solution. It's not always a pretty process, but it gets the job done. So here are a few. So HRIS is pretty busy these days. Hopefully you've seen some of what we've been doing lately. Like all of you, we're doing what we can to get our jobs done while working safe and smart. Thanks for watching.
Welcome to the Roadmap to HR Policy Approval. I am your HR Policy Shepherd, here to guide you along the way. Have you ever wondered how a policy gets approved? Well, prepare to become enlightened. Step 1 is to create or update the policy. Be sure to discuss it with and get buy-in from key campus partners, also known as stakeholders, who might have interest in or be impacted by the policy. And make note of those stakeholders. You'll need to document that information later in the process. Step 2 is to inform and get support from Kevin Kirby for the policy. Since he's the responsible official for all HR policies and a member of the Executive Compliance Committee, which reviews the policy later in the process, you don't want him first finding out about the policy when it's brought to the Executive Compliance Committee for review and discussion. Be sure to get something in writing, noting that Kevin is aligned with the policy. An email message works as well as anything. You'll want to be able to refer back to that communication later on. In step 3, we send the policy to Ken Little. He will move it into the formal approval queue and shepherd it through the remaining stops it needs to make. In step 4, the Executive Compliance Committee reviews, discusses, and approves moving the policy forward for further review. The members of the Executive Compliance Committee include several VPs, as well as the deans of undergraduates and of graduate and postdoctoral studies, and a couple of our vice provosts. In step 5, the deans and the VPs have 7 to 10 days to review and provide comments on the policy. In step 6, your policy is in the home stretch of the approval process. Ken Little assembles a packet containing the policy and supporting documents and sends that to General Counsel for formal review. While this is happening, you'll want to ghostwrite a memo from Kevin to the president outlining the history of the policy, the stakeholders involved, any anticipated budgetary impacts, and updated procedures, training, or other communications that you'll deliver when the policy is signed and fully approved. Be sure to send the memo to Kevin for his input, and then have it ready to accompany the final policy packet to the president's office. In step 7, the policy goes to President Lebrun's desk for his signature. This is where you'll want to include that cover memo from Kevin. Finally, you did it. Step 8. Now that the heavy lifting is done, it's time to tell the world, well, okay, maybe just the campus, about the newly approved policy. Ken Little will post it on the policy website. We in HR need to be prepared to communicate to campus about the policy and any associated procedures. So that's it. That's enough. With your policy signed, sealed, and delivered, relish in your feeling of accomplishment and peace. Namaste.
Happy Friday, guys. This is Sue with the Benefits Update. We will be starting with a new benefits committee this year. We'll have new co-chairs. Shelley Harvey and David McDonald are going to be our co-chairs. We've got a new schedule. We are going to be meeting on the second Thursday of each month. That's new. We've always done it on a Wednesday before, but with the new COVID schedules and new other things, we're going to try a different time as well. The kind of basic lunch hour where most professors don't have classes is 12:40 to 1:40. So we've got a new schedule. We have tons and tons to go over with them. We've been working very close with budgeting and Kathy and Kevin about changes that are going to happen with the benefits for this year. And so we've got all that to go over with them. And for the first time this year with the benefits committee, we are going to offer training so that they get up to speed more quickly than they have in years past, so that they're not listening to terms and three-letter acronyms and all that kind of stuff without understanding what they are. So we're going to try that this year, and hopefully that'll be a good news thing. Upcoming changes, there are going to be quite a few that'll happen, and this is what we'll be talking with them about. We are looking at putting in a new HSA option. We're looking for something that's going to be a little more financially friendly, lower minimums like none, to start investing your money in your HSA and better returns on the HSA money. So those are a couple of things, and also a lot more support for folks who are on the high deductible health plan to help them figure out what's the right amount to save. Do they want to use that money if they have expenses, or do they want to let it grow and take it into retirement? So that's one new thing that we'll be talking about. We want to do an update for our retiree medical. Right now, our retirees can take our medical plan as their Medicare supplement, and whatever Medicare doesn't pay, we pay up to our plan design. it's expensive, and it's just not serving the retirees as well as it has in years past. And so we have a couple of different options that we can put people into. The exchanges. I'm sure you've heard of the exchanges. That's where you go out and you work with someone to get the best option for you out in the open marketplace. And you don't have to do that on your own. You get a lot of assistance, as much assistance as you need or want. And then later on, if you have claims issues, which usually there aren't a lot of claims issues for Medicare recipients, but if you have any, they can help you work through those as well. So we're looking at that option as well as another fully insured, it's called a Plan F, if you know anything about Medicare plans, and that's the other option. So we're going to try to get a decision on that so that we can get that squared away and in place for our retirees coming up. We are looking at medical plan changes as well. We are looking to go to a payment plan whereby out-of-network payments are made on a % of Medicare rather than on billed charges. So it's a way that we can pay a fair price, but not be taken advantage of by unscrupulous out-of-network providers who charge as much as 10 times what other providers charge. We're going to a new program for specialty medications. It'll only affect a very few people, but it could save us a lot of money because that's where a lot of money goes. It's to take advantage of carrier coupons to their maximum capacity. We're going to have some modest plan design changes, some co-pays, co-insurance, those kinds of things. We have a new diabetes program that we're going to launch. We're looking at January 1st. It is calling itself Diabetes Reversal through a ketogenic diet. We did a pilot, had 7 people in it, have 7 people who stayed the entire time who have lost, well over 200 pounds among them, and gotten off of all sorts of really expensive medications and feeling great and looking great, and the world is good. So we are going to take our DAW penalty from a 1 to a 2. I mean, a 2 to a 1. That means that people will no longer be able to get out of the penalty for taking a brand drug if a generic is available. If they get the brand drug, they're going to pay the penalty no matter what. So no longer can your doctor say no, dispense as written. So it should increase our generic utilization and hopefully will bring down costs a little bit more. We're going to implement tobacco and spousal surcharges. So if you smoke, you're going to pay more. And if you have a spouse who has access to coverage elsewhere, you'll have to pay a surcharge to have them on our plan. And we have a few long-term disability changes, but nothing anybody will notice right off the bat. So it's more with future disability claims. The lead record keeper went into effect for October the 1st. We're now making our changes out on net benefits. Yay. For the 403B and 401A, it was completed October the 1st. The 457B, which is that top hat plan for those who make over 140% of the Medicare wage base, it will be ready on November the 9th. So that will go live on the 9th. And then beginning on November 1st, we're going to have a 6-month eligibility period for 401A starting. So when an employee starts, it will be 6 months before we start to make contributions to their 401A. And then we are also adding in a 3-year cliff vesting for 401A starting on November 1st. So that means anybody hired after November 1st needs to stay with Rice until at least November 1st, 3 years later, in order to get the money out of their 401A that Rice has put in. So that doesn't affect anybody who's here at Rice today, but will affect them, people who come in the future. With Imagine One, Veronica is busy as a beaver. She is working, learning how to configure and still working out some details about how we're going to make things work in the new system. There will be some changes to the things, how we do things. We'll have more audits and more things, reports that we have to run and those kinds of things. But I think it's going to be really simple for employees to just have that benefits thing right there while they're doing their other stuff in the Oracle Cloud, have the benefits right there. I think they may be a little more likely to check things out if it's that easy. So we're looking forward to that. We are going to start doing E-Verify for all employees. Today, we only do it for those international employees, I believe, on grants. I think it's not even all the international employees, but all the ones on grants. So we're going to start doing that on everyone. So that should be interesting to try to figure out, and lots more to come on Imagine One. And then last but not least, certainly, we have an exciting student insurance project that we're working on. To be or not to be self-insured, that is the question. And we are we've completed the contract for that work. We're getting started with that project. Our desire is to be able to bring down the cost of student insurance, because every year we get students that say, that is so hard. I've just come up with this much money and now you want $2,000 more. So anything we can do to make that more affordable for the students, that's what we want to do. All right. Well, that's the end of what I had to share with you. Thank you all for listening, and later.
Good morning. Dixie and I wanted to give you updates for OD for our staff meeting next week. So HRBPs are working very hard as usual with different issues that pop up, as well as with their different client groups. They have some projects going on, whether it's role clarification or team coaching, a number of things with their different groups. They also have been working hard on finalizing some procedures, such as for reduction in force, if and when we were to ever need that, or severance, exit interviews. So just a range of policies and procedures. We are in the middle of 2 pilot programs. So a pilot leadership program cohort that has 10 people in it, the Leadership Challenge, it's 6 sessions. And we are also doing a virtual career circle, which has 8 people in it. We also just finished a 2nd round of public speaking. Dr. Jennifer Wilson did another training for us for RICE. So put another 20 people through that. So we've had about 50 people go through that this year. Oracle, working on our modules, as well as working much more closely with the change management team. So more to come on that. We are changing our weekly supervisor call to a more leader development focused call in the future, probably once a month. So you'll be hearing more about that, especially if you're a supervisor. And then just to let you know, another initiative that HRBPs are starting to do is what we'll call micro learning. So taking presentations and any workshops that we do, and then leveraging that material, making it either a live workshop virtually or a recorded session. So trying to get leverage everything we're doing in a way that has more impact. So that's all we have for now, and look forward to seeing everybody soon.